Hello, and happy holidays, everyone. It's definitely been a minute as I've been navigating my way through the holidays, the release of Cyberpunk, and my first foray into the world of Twitch. I'm back, though. You might recall that in my last video, I mentioned that this was supposed to be a D&D video, and surprise, it's not a D&D video. Well, I wanted to do something new. Maybe use a camera, lighten the load of video editing, and after doing those things, it all kind of backfired. What was supposed to be a 10-minute video had an hour of footage to revise and edit, and rather than taking the deep dive into that massive ocean, I just wanted to get some content out. And I had something that I really wanted to talk about. Love and monsters. Earth. We know it. We love it. We live it. We live on it. But, oh no, an asteroid. It's heading our way. It's so big. Oh no. We do a big pew pew. We shoot some rockets at it. The rockets do their job. The asteroid is demolished. Cue applause. Wait, what's that? The chemicals from the rockets. They've rained down upon Earth. Mutated, cold-blooded creatures into giant, evil monstrosities that waged war upon the Earth. Cue gasp. And yeah, we lost. Cue sound sad effect. And 95% of Earth's population was wiped out. Cue sadder sound effect. This movie takes place 7 years after these incredibly narrated events. We're in a bunker, what the young hip folks would call a colony. And we're following Joel, the oh so wonderful, dreamy Dylan O'Brien. And yeah, things are not going well for him. He's in a bunker full of people and more alone than he's ever been. He does have some escape from this isolation, however, in the form of a radio. He can use that radio to contact another bunker. And in that bunker, well, his one true love from 7 years ago. 7 years before your pet iguana mutated into Godzilla's cousin. Guanzilla? Iguala? Godguana? Anyway. Our boy Joel makes the decision to travel 85 miles across the dreaded and dangerous surface to meet up with his love of worlds past. It's the unexpected journey, a hobbit's tale. But instead of trolls and dragons, it's just, well, I mean, I guess it's still dragons, just without the fire breathing. We're going to continue to gush on our boy Dylan O'Brien because he takes this painstakingly average protagonist and gives him the charisma, the charm, and the comedic chops needed for him to be someone that you care about. From the very beginning, the world setting is exposited through his inner monologue over these really cheesy kind of drawings, but it's a taste of what's to come. You really get a chance to know him. Then that transitions right into him expositing his daily life in this new world. He gives charm to being a coward. It's the most charismatic stagnation in a person I've ever witnessed, and as someone who's felt so stagnant in a world of isolation that he made a YouTube channel to talk about his passion, well, it was relatable. From Teen Wolf to Maze Runner, Dylan O'Brien was the perfect fit for this kind of role. Without Dylan, this movie would just be as average as his character. With him, it's elevated to such an enjoyable movie. Dylan's best role has hands down been Styles from Teen Wolf. I don't know how Dylan was cast into that role. Styles felt like it was written to perfectly accent all of O'Brien's acting chops. But then you watch as his career lands him the main lead in Maze Runner. He does a good job, he's a great actor, but that charisma and perfect sarcastic timing that he normally has doesn't really get the opportunity to shine in that movie. Then you go even further with American Assassin, a very serious movie. Again, it's not a bad performance. Dylan O'Brien is a very great actor, but this man shines with a script that befits him, and that was not one of them. This movie fucking fit him perfectly. The comedy that he can bring to a role just feels like a natural extension of himself. It doesn't feel like he's acting, and that's what makes it so great. This movie is not an adaptation of anything. It is instead a purely original script. So let's touch on that a little bit more as we stray away from the wonders of dreamy Dylan O'Brien. I love reading books, and some of my favorite things to do is to watch a movie trailer, find out it's actually a book, read the book, and then hate the movie because they adapted it like shit. Looking at you, Chaos Walking. You're not out yet, but I can fucking feel it. My other favorite thing to do is find a random movie, watch it, find out it's a book, and then fall so much more in love with the world-setting book and movie because I can dive deeper into something that I already enjoyed. The entire time I was watching this movie, I felt like I was watching a superb adaptation of a book. The internal monologue ripped straight from the pages of a well-written main character from some kind of young adult novel. A theme and setting that fits within the bounds of so many of the post-apocalypse books that exist within the genre. An underlying theme of growth that you would see in any young adult protagonist. The more I watched this movie, the more excited I got to read the book. A movie this good could only have a book that much better. With that excitement also came fear. What if there was no book? What if this was purely original and I'd never get the chance to dive deeper? What if this was the end? And then the movie ends, and there was one specific scene, and for a moment, all that doubt was erased. I knew it was a book. There had to be a book. This scene implanted it within me. As soon as the credits rolled, I immediately turned to Google. Give me the book, I need the book. And then I read the dreaded words, despite not being adapted. It was 2 a.m. I was so unbelievably disappointed. The fact that it had no source material to be adapted from only makes it more impressive to me. In a world where everything is adapted from something, this was a truly unique film. After doing some research, I was not surprised at all. Brian Duffield, credited for story, wrote The Babysitter, which was a very solid, similarly original flick. That book adaptation feel that this entire movie has, well, it's much less of a surprise when you know that he's also credited for Insurgent, which is another YA book adapted for the big screen. All right, I for sure rambled at this point, but there's still some great things about this movie, so let's quickfire. Super solid soundtrack. Shout out Stand By Me. Surprisingly great CGI given the budget. The tone had this self-awareness to it. It reminded me a lot of Netflix's Daybreak with Matthew Broderick, but it was a little bit more toned down and without any fourth wall breaking. The pacing was, for the most part, pretty solid. So normally at some point I would talk about what this movie would have done poorly. However, in my initial watch, there was nothing I thought was bad. There is something that I can see being a little bit more controversial. That being good foreshadowing in the use of Chekhov's gun versus the idea of it being written predictably. But first, what's Chekhov's gun? Well, I prefer to call it the Winchester's gun, because Shaun of the Dead emulated this to a T. Essentially, the Winchester's gun is when you introduce something into a movie, book, or writing of some source, it must be used later on in the writing. For example, in Shaun of the Dead, there's a scene at the beginning of the movie. All of our best friends are walking into a pub, the Winchester, and there's a gun mounted on the wall. All of them begin talking about that gun and the owner of the bar and all that stuff, and they're deciding whether or not it's a real gun. Later on in the movie, they literally use the gun. Element introduced, element utilized. There was never a time I felt like the movie was predictable. I always felt satisfied when I knew something was going to happen rather than feeling like it was just lazy, predictable writing. At some points, I even cheered because I knew what was going to happen. You feel like you're learning alongside Joel in a natural way rather than just being force-fed exposition. You came to the conclusions that Joel are going to come to just a little bit faster than he actually came to those conclusions. I guess if there really was one bad thing, I don't even really think it was particularly bad. It was plot armor. Your boy got some plot armor for sure. It's played off well, and Joel is an easy to like character, so you want to see him succeed and come out on top, but all of the times that he does succeed and come out on top, he does so with little to no consequence. You watch him learn and overcome his average nature and see him succeed with great payoff. All the plot armor, to me, well, it felt like watching Luke go through lightsaber training for his eventual battle with Vader. He learns how to do something, and then you see him do it. Success can be debated for sure, but as I said, there needed to be more consequences. Luke had his hand chopped off the first time he fought Vader. Spoilers. He did great. You were excited to see his training pay off and devastated to see how he lost, but how he grew. Even if his consequence was completely negated, it still wasn't a fight devoid of loss. And I guess the last thing I can nitpick is the name. Love and Monsters. They make it seem more like a love story than anything else. The name and the tone from the trailer really emphasize on the love part more than what the majority of the movie is actually about. Love is on the back burner. Love is the catalyst. It's not the focus. This is an action-adventure movie with an underlying theme of star-crossed lovers. But that theme is the first word of the title and the entire vibe of the trailer. Almost every YA book I've ever read had this same vibe, and I would never describe The Hunger Games as a love story. In the end, it hit all the perfect notes, and there was nothing in this movie that I genuinely disliked. It wasn't perfect. It was just extremely solid. If you can afford it, rent it, buy it, support it how you can. And that's it, folks. Love and Monsters. It's a wrap. Look forward to more reviews coming soon. You can watch what me and the boys over at Cold Soup have been up to, or you can watch one of my previous videos. And yeah, I still don't really know how to end these yet. So, bye. Love you.